Hey Nasties, it's 102. Welcome to EST Afternoons. Hernan Salas, Goob Nation, coming to you live from the William Huff Studios here in the west end of the city. Joaquin Gage still remote as he's fighting the illness. Hopefully he's back in the studio soon. Reminder, if you want to listen to us, hit us up on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tune in or the iHeartRadio apps. If you want to watch us, EST YouTube channel. And if you're watching us, hit that thumbs up. Let's get to 100. I think we were close yesterday, over 90, Gager, but not over 100. So how about we hit 100 for today as well? Text us 780-218-9999 or hit us up on the Nasty Chat. Fun show ahead. For you today, as the Oilers are on an off day, and never again are the Oilers allowed to take 6 days off, Gager. Rough, man. Today on the show, 120, Justin Dunk from 3 Down Nation. He's got the news. Davis Alexander, an enormous contract extension with the Alouettes. We'll get to that. He's also got the schedule that the Elks will go through in interviewing their potential candidates for the head coaching job. 140, Hernan's World, which is presented by the Garrison Curling Club. We're also going to have some fun there. EST Afternoons, the three of us, we will start building our roster for Team Canada's Four Nations tourney. Gager, we're going to do defensemen and goalies today. I'm sure we'll disagree on some, but we got to come to a consensus. 7 defensemen and 3 goalies. And at 220, we're going to go to Boston. They made a coaching change. They're 2-1 in their last 3 games since the change to Joe Sacco. They've only scored 3 goals, but they've only given up 3 goals. So we'll get a good conversation in there on what's going on with the Boston Bruins. But Gager, my man, feeling any better, or it's kind of the same right now?
Yeah, it's kind of the same, but just low energy Gager. That's I'll try to pick her up for the next 2 hours at least, though. So we'll bring the people what they want. All right.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you joining us and fighting through this. I know it's tough. I wonder who's next to fall here. It was Dusty for a month. Gager's now on 2 days. Who will be next? If you want to connect with us on Twitter, also at Joaq Sports Talk, at Hernan the Man, and at Joaquin Gage 31. But Gage, I guess we can start with the news. The Edmonton Elks coaching interviews for this week. Monday, Buck Pierce. Tuesday, Rick Campbell and Jordan McSimic. Of course, they're in BC together. Wednesday, Mark Killam, and Friday, Jarius Jackson. Of those 5 names, do you have a preference who should be the head coach of the Edmonton Elks?
No, I don't yet. I mean, yeah, it's funny that Jarius is last. That's the one thing that is in the schedule, right?
Yeah.
Like, you try to look into these things, and usually you look at the first 3, and you think, okay, probably those are the number ones on the list. Of course, doing their due diligence, and they had to do the whole interview process for Jarius as well. He's part of it. But weren't they talking about, like, this isn't a situation where the head coach comes in and he can pick his staff, right? They want. I didn't understand the whole process of how they fill all the coaching roles of the Elks. It sounded like, okay, they're hiring a head coach, but then he's going to be involved with everyone else to see who's going to be the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, all of the different areas. Is that kind of their plan and how they're going to move forward?
I think so. I think once the head coach is named, Gager, he's going to sit down with Ed Hervey, probably Chris Morris. And the first piece of business they got to get to is who do they want to keep from the existing coaching staff, right? And if it's no one, and then they go from there, right? If it's one guy or 2 guys or no one, and then he goes, well, I want this guy, I want that guy. And that's why I think Rick Campbell, if he signs with the Elks, I think it's almost automatic that McSimic comes. And that's why I wanted to have Justin Dunk on, because is there a potential that 3 of these guys land on the staff for the Elks, right?
Yeah, I mean, it could be. Those guys are probably, well, there's not many spots for head coaching duties, right? So, yeah, that's interesting. Maybe they all become part of the organization.
And that's the thing, right? And there's not a lot of, there's a job in BC. That's probably it right now. So, if you can get Campbell, McSimic, and Killam, I think you're off and running, and then you have to fill in the other holes. But Generally, Gager, that's how it usually works for coaching staff. Like usually the head coach gets to pick his staff, and obviously the GM will have a say in it as well. But I guess we'll ask our Nasties right now of the 5 coaches being interviewed, and I think this is this week, but we'll get clarification from Justin as well. Buck Pierce, Rick Campbell, Jordan McSimic, Mark Killam, Jarius Jackson. Who is your choice to be the next head coach of the Edmonton Elks? Let us know at 780-218-9999 and hit us up on the Nasty Chat as well. As I mentioned in the opening, Montreal Alouettes signed Davis Alexander to a 3-year contract extension through 2027. It's a ton of money, Gager. He receives a $120,000 signing bonus with $258,000 in hard money plus $72,000 in available playtime incentives, with $6,000 in All-Star and award bonuses for a $336,000 max value in 2025. That's crazy for a guy who's not even a full-time starter yet.
No.
Well, he is now.
Yeah, he's got to be now. Is Fajardo's deal's done, though, correct? Like he's come January 1st, or he has one more year?
No, he's got a few years left, and he's got a huge bonus due in January. So they either trade him before that or release him so they don't have to pay the bonus, right?
Right. But like what we were talking about yesterday was the need for 2 capable quarterbacks. But if Fajardo becomes available, who do you think are the? I guess it all depends what happens with Trey Ford, but I like Fajardo. I think he's still a pretty good quarterback. You think the Elks would be looking towards him to possibly be there? But I don't know how much money he would command coming off that big deal.
And that's my next question, Gager, because I think Fajardo is a choice for Edmonton. But if Davis Alexander got this money, Gager, Trey Ford's played more games and won more games, right? Like what is like Trey Ford seeing this deal and he's licking his chops, buddy? Like seriously.
He's. I mean, if you go head to head, matching up the agents in there and has the comparisons, he makes a good case for Trey Ford, I guess, in that scenario. But again, this is it's interesting that they signed Alexander so quickly. Obviously, they like him. I mean, I remember the game against the Elks in Montreal. He was fantastic, right? Or it wasn't Elks? It was someone else. Sorry. When he came in, he was really good.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. You can't give that much money to Trey Ford. I don't think, man. There's other parts around this team that need shoring up. The O line, the D line. I think that money is much better spent in those spots on this team to have the ability to protect whatever quarterback that they're looking for.
And that's what I mean, Gager, where Trey Ford's played in games in all 3 seasons. This season, in the games he played outside of one, he was really good. So he's probably looking at this deal and saying, I want that, something comparable to that. Because Davis Alexander got his first CFL action this year. I think he saw playing time in 7 games, Gager. 7 games, and this is the deal he gets. And don't get me wrong, he looked really, really good.
He did look good.
Man, that's a lot of. Let me tell you what he's getting in 2026. He has $346,000 in hard money, plus tons of playtime incentives, all-star bonuses, and all that. In 2027, he has a $456,000 max value with $396,000 in hard money, Gager.
That's a good deal. I wish I would have had his agent.
This guy's played 7 games. It's unreal. I mean, seriously though, like for me, it's one of those things. I think this is good for Trey Ford. Probably not so good for the Elks, who are trying to probably negotiate.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Right? Because I'll be honest, I'm seeing a similar number for Trey Ford. He's a lot more proven. He's been in the league longer. He's played more. He's electric. I mean, wow. But I'll say this. If Trey Ford is a starter in Edmonton, well, what a crop of young guys coming up, eh? Davis Alexander, you got Nathan Rourke, Trey Ford, potentially Powell and Hamilton, Drew Brown. Like it's turning into a pretty good crop of CFL quarterbacks here.
Yeah, no, it's a changing of the guard, and it's weird at that quarterback. It can take time at the quarterback position because a lot of these guys, the real good ones, have a lot of longevity. Yeah. And I think you were getting to the end of it's funny to say, but Bo Levi Mitchell is like an elder statesman in the CFL now, so there definitely is. It's great to see young, all gunslingers come in. Yeah, the CFL's in a really good spot, just to the ability to promote your guys. Because the quarterback is such a, it's one of the biggest positions I'd think, say, in all sports. Like there's a huge focal point on that position, and have a young guy that's electric and exciting, I think is great for all these teams.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see. I think we'll get a Trey Ford contract extension or any news on Trey once the head coach is hired by the Edmonton Elks. Could be this week, could be next week, Gager. But I think we'll definitely get it by mid-December. We'll be down at Commonwealth again covering it because it's going to be another exciting time for the Edmonton Elks. But man, it's been a fun offseason. I think it's only going to get better here because we have tons of news still regarding the Edmonton Elks, Gager. But fun times out there. We want to know, listeners, do you see Trey Ford? Do you think he should get similar contract than Davis Alexander did? I do, because he's a lot more proven. He's played a lot more. So we'll see what happens there. And it's just crazy, that money, man. Holy smokes. I am blown away. VA to Calgary, another great move yesterday that we talked about a lot. Gager, the Edmonton Oilers off today. They'll travel tomorrow, I think. They'll probably skate and then travel out to Utah. First visit there. Not much to report on lines, obviously, anything like that. We will get to a Jeff Skinner conversation in the second segment, and I just want you to just kind of think about this, Gager and Zach and our listeners. This is the question we're going to talk about in the second hour. What's the next move for Jeff Skinner on the Edmonton Oilers? Because I'll read you some stats, Gager. He has 7 points, 4 goals, 3 assists in 22 games. He's a -9. He's averaging 13.44 of ice time. So what's the plan for him going forward? He is a one-trick pony. He's here to score goals, Gager. He's not here to be a two-way guy, kill penalties, be physical. The Oilers signed him to a 1-year deal for one reason: to score goals, right? Is he being put in that spot to succeed? He's been up and down this lineup. I feel like the coaching staff doesn't know where to place him. So we're going to discuss that, and we want to hear from you as well. What should the Oilers do with Jeff Skinner? Because for me, Gager, you got to make a decision here, because you're going to get some bodies back, and you got to find out if this is the guy that you thought you were bringing in, a top 6 guy that can score 20 to 25 for you.
Oh, I said it yesterday, and we'll dive into it a bit more. But this isn't. It's a coach's issue, but it's a Jeff Skinner problem. If that makes sense. Yeah. He's got to figure this out. I mean, I mentioned his age yesterday. He's got to find a way to fit into this team. Like, from all accounts, the beginning, the reason why he wanted to be here was to play in a playoff game and start playing meaningful games past January 1st, basically, right? Yeah. Like this is, and I don't know if it's bad to say, but I question it. Like, it looked good the first 5-6 games. Like he was, when they were struggling. Like he was, he seemed to be working in the difficult areas, right? But as I mentioned, skilled guys, if they're not scoring, it can really wreak havoc with confidence and probably trying to do too much. But look, he just has to figure it out. What's going to make me successful? How do I have to play to make my teammates or my line mates better, and for me to have success? Having Connor and Leon is a luxury that they're going to be able to put up points, and at times they're the sole reason that you've got 2 points by the end of the night is the play of those two. But he's gonna have to find some way to contribute, but you could say that to a lot of guys. Like there's half the D core are leading the team in scoring. right? The only guy that was in there was Nuge in the top 7 last week. So he's got to find something. He's got to, it's crazy. So it's not only him that has to start finding the back of the net to be successful. There's a lot of other guys.
Oh yeah.
But his experience, Hernan, and the amount of games that he's played and been a huge part of. Like, I've watched games where he's taken over just himself, right?
Yeah.
He's got to find that. There's no excuse for him not to be able to find his game now.
Yeah, Rip City Step on the inbox says, can't believe they didn't claim Pustonen. Yeah, I'm sure there's some Oiler fans out there upset that the Oilers didn't claim another guy on waivers. Gager, any concern that the Oilers are not in a playoff spot come U.S. Thanksgiving?
Yeah, but it's close.
I know.
Pretty close. So, I still think they're a playoff team. Like they're.
No, I know. Yeah.
Like they were in yesterday. They didn't get a lot of help last night with Vancouver leapfrogging them, obviously.
Yeah.
But no, this is a playoff team, dude. After what we saw, what they did to the Rangers, you can't say that they're not.
No, for sure. I was just because you know what they say: if you're not in a playoff spot by U.S. Thanksgiving, you're not going to the playoffs. But they're actually tied for the final wild card spot.
Yeah.
But they're the team that's on the outside looking in because they've played more games. All right, guys, do you think Trey Ford should get a contract like Davis Alexander? I do. Who do you want as the next coach of the Edmonton Elks? McSimic, Rick Campbell, Mark Killam, Jarius Jackson, or Buck Pierce? And we'll continue the Oiler talk. We'll continue the Four Nations talk as the rosters will have to be in by next Wednesday, Gager. So today we're going to pick our team on EST Afternoons, defensemen and the 3 goalies. And then I got another question for Gager. I'll ask you quickly this. Evan Bouchard, Zach Hyman, and Stuart Skinner. How many of them make Canada's Four Nations team?
So Zach Hyman, you said Nuge and Skinner?
No, Bouchard instead of
Bouchard.
Nuge.
None.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think any of them make it, especially with the seasons they're having.
No,
I think if anything, maybe Zach Hyman, just because they love his pedigree. But right now, I would have to say none. Zach, do you think any of them make it?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. Good stuff, Zach.
Chance.
Thank you. He wasn't. That's all good. He's busy behind the scenes. But we're going to get to a quick break here. Reminder also in the second hour, the EST Flyaway to LA, which is presented by the 780. Only 2 more opportunities here on EST Afternoons, as the grand prize will be giving away on Friday morning with Dustin Nielsen and Lieutenant Eric. Portions of this hour brought to you by the Canadian Brew House. Book your holiday party at the CBH today, your ultimate destination for events, parties, fundraisers, and more. 'Tis the season to celebrate. Visit and book now at thecanadianbrewhouse.com. Up next, Justin Dunk from 3 Down Nation as we go around the CFL. It's Joaquin Gage, Hernan Salas, EST Afternoons. We're back after the break, but first up, an update, a sports update with Zach Kubish.
We have a 15-game NHL slate that sees the Rangers battling the Hurricanes, the Flames matching up with the Red Wings, and the Maple Leafs facing the Panthers without Austin Matthews. And in football news, the Montreal Alouettes have extended Davis Alexander to a 3-year deal after he went 5-0, throwing for over 1,300 yards this past season. Elsewhere, Daniel Jones is set to sign with the Vikings on a 1-year deal, having Jones report to the team's practice squad. And it's Raptors tipping off with the Pelicans with 14 games around the association. We have a quick timeout with Justin Dunk on the other side. I'm Zachary Kubish, keeping you in the loop.
Incredible sports experience. It's the EST Flyaway to LA. Presented by the 780. Listen daily for the EST Flyaway keyword. Once you hear it, text us at 780-218-9999 for your chance to qualify to fly to LA. Round trip flights for 2, hotel and car rentals, all to go see Edmonton face off against either LA or Anaheim. Plus, experience the brand new Intuit Dome as the Clippers tip off against the Warriors, and top it all off with the Rams kicking off against the Cardinals at SoFi Stadium. This is more than just a trip. This is the ultimate sports experience. The EST Flyaway to LA, presented by the 780 and Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports. Since 1952, William Huff has been the heartbeat of Edmonton's advertising world. From humble beginnings to a citywide powerhouse, we've been the go-to for signage from print to design and installation. Partnering with Edmonton's top sports franchises and major events, we've helped shape the city's global reputation. Our secret? Unmatched customer service, decades of experience, and a passion for excellence we call the William Huff Advantage. Visit us online at williamhuff.com.
You want the heavy hitters on your team, both on and off the ice. If you've been injured in a car accident, call the heavy hitters of injury law. James H. Brown and Associates, Alberta Injury Lawyers. With over 200 years of combined injury law experience, their precedent-setting lawyers are ready to help. Locally owned and proud Edmonton Oilers fans, James H. Brown and Associates wants to support you with their unrivaled experience, unrivaled results, and unrivaled commitment. When accidents happen, head to jameshbrown.com.
Welcome back to EST Afternoons. Hernan Salas here in the William Huff Studios. Joaquin Gage is at his home as he's just a little bit under the weather. And, of course, our lovely producer, Zach Kubish. We're at 27 thumbs up. Keep hammering it. Remember, it helps get eyes on the show. So if you're watching on EST YouTube channel, hit the thumbs up. And, of course, coming up in the second hour, Shawn Hutcheon from the fourth period in Boston. We'll talk some Bruins. And we'll have one more qualifier. Only two left on this show for the EST Flyaway to LA, which is proudly presented by the 780. But we're going to continue the CFL talk as we're joined by Justin Dunk from 3 Down Nation. Justin Dunk, man, you're Mr. News right now, and you're helping us out a lot here in Edmonton because the Oilers have been off for 6 days. Well, we'll be off, so some good news here. But I guess let's start with the Edmonton Elks. You put out the schedule for the meetings that Ed Hervey and Chris Morris are having with potential candidates. Two questions. Is that for this week or next week? And what are you hearing? Who's the top, who's the favorite to be the Elks' new head coach?
The schedule was for this week that we're currently in. So Monday, he met with Buck Pierce. Tuesday, flew to Vancouver, met with Rick Campbell and Jordan Maksimic. Trying to make sure I got my days right. Today, Wednesday, would be Mark Killam. Friday would be Jarius Jackson. And you know what stood out to me, guys, is after I put that out, a number of green and gold fans were clamoring, let's say, for Jarius Jackson. Somebody even brought up the point that Jackson had a better winning percentage than Corey Mace did as interim head coach.
Oh.
Mace was a full-time head coach with the Riders, which is statistically correct.
That's crazy. Justin, who do you see being the front runner? And is there a possibility that maybe 2 or 3 of these names end up on the staff as well in just different spots?
I do think that's possible. It seems like Rick Campbell is the front runner at this point. You know, there's even some people going so far as to say that this is a done deal. I won't go that far yet because I do think there's a process to play out here. I do think the underrated person in this mix, though, is Mark Killam. This is a guy that when he gets his opportunity as a head coach, it's going to be a great one. And for your University of Alberta Golden Bears fans, they went after him hard to be the head coach to succeed Chris Morris after he stepped to the Elks president role. So I think Mark Killam, whenever he gets a shot to be a head coach, is going to be great. If he doesn't get that opportunity in Edmonton with the Elks as a head coach, I think there's a chance that he could be the special teams coordinator there, but he does know Corey Mace well, and I think there would also be a possibility for him to be the special teams coordinator with the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Oh, Gage, you're muted.
Justin, looking at what happened out east in Montreal with Alexander, the contract, what does that do with Trey Ford? I know they're probably going to wait till they finalize who's going to be the head coach here before they start making any decisions. But what does that do for Trey Ford's bargaining power? Just looking at a head-to-head against Alexander, I would have to put Hernan and I were just talking about. He laid it out that he has somewhat better numbers.
Yeah, and I think that it sets the table for Trey Ford, and at least for him and his camp to make the argument that Trey Ford should get more money. It's worth noting that Fred Weinrich, a Montreal-based agent, represents both Davis Alexander and Trey Ford. So he knows what he's doing here in terms of setting this thing up. And if you look at Davis Alexander's 3-year contract, he can make nearly $1.2 million over the course of those 3 seasons combined. That's if he hits his all-star and award bonuses, which are $6,000 every year. So let's take that away, because I think it's important to look at the hard money and the play time. You look at the hard money in year 1, $258,000 with $72,000 in playtime bonus that I would call realistic for him to get. So I think it's a definite possibility that you could see Davis Alexander make $330,000 in 2025. If I'm Trey Ford, I'm pointing to that and saying, I've started more games. As you guys have pointed out, I have some better numbers, although it's hard to beat Davis Alexander with that perfect 4-0 record, which should really be 5-0 because he led a second half comeback against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. But that win, I think, went to Caleb Evans. We've got to fix this quarterback win-loss stat, but that's a conversation for another day.
I agree. Justin, just staying with Davis Alexander, a big contract. Like you laid it out nicely in your article on 3 Down Nation. Go check it out there. He's a hell of a young quarterback. Cody Fajardo, I think, is due a big bonus you wrote there in January. Is just writing on the wall for Cody Fajardo to be moved on from. And where do you see a landing spot for him?
I think still the best place for Cody Fajardo, if he can swallow his pride, which I think he can do, is Montreal. And yes, you're right. He has a $200,000 roster bonus due on January 15th. That's way more than any backup quarterback would make in hard money in the Canadian Football League. So I think what's going to play out here is a negotiation. And when Fajardo looks around, let's just get this out of the way, okay? Because I've seen some speculation online. Cody Fajardo is not going back to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I don't think with the way things ended that's going to happen. All right. So that's out. So when you look around the Canadian Football League, unless Fajardo thinks that there's a real shot for him to go to Edmonton and compete with Trey Ford for that number 1 role, that's not even considering the fact that would the Elks actually want him. And I think Montreal is actually his best spot right now. He knows the offense under Jason Moss. Jason Moss still has an affinity for him. This is just quite a predicament for the Alouettes to be in, with the quarterback of the future becoming the quarterback of the present, even though Cody Fajardo won the Grey Cup MVP just a year ago, fellas. Like, let's think about that. But I believe that, if you look at all of those aspects, it would point towards him restructuring his deal, being a veteran backup to Davis Alexander in Montreal. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I just think it's the most logical place for him.
Justin, we talked about before too that you kind of need 2 quarterbacks to be successful in the CFL to get to the ultimate goal, I think. Do you think it makes sense for the Elks to maybe look at Fajardo in this case and have a kind of a 1-2 with Trey Ford again? Or do you think in Edmonton and you want to see what Trey Ford's capable of and taking the full reins, being the number 1 QB, and see what you really have with this guy?
I think it would make sense to at least consider Fajardo. And, the guy that I would look at to be possibly a better mentor for Jeremiah Masoli, no disrespect to Fajardo, I just think his best spot is in Montreal, would be Jeremiah Masoli, a pending free agent, started his career in Edmonton before that trade to the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And, I think can fill in here and there, but I just think as a mentor, a tutor, if you will, that would be a great fit for Trey Ford. And oh, by the way, Masoli's agent is Fred Weinrich, the same agent as Davis Alexander and Trey Ford and Masoli. So I think a lot of things there could potentially line up. But there's going to be some options here as to who the Elks can go after for backup quarterback. I don't think you're going to run it back with Trey Ford and McLeod Bethel-Thompson just from an optics perspective. That wouldn't look good. But there's some guys who could potentially be available outside of Masoli. I just think that would be a great fit for a number of reasons.
And that's great. And Matthew Wanek, who works here at EST as well, he's been saying Jeremiah Masoli because he's probably okay, Justin, with not being the number 1 guy. Like he understands his role. He understands he's only going to play when maybe the game's out of hand, you take him out, or there's an injury, right? Like he's not a guy that's going to be pressing or given the number one spot like MBT did here last year.
Yeah, I think it would be a different relationship, right? Jeremiah Masoli has understood that kind of a role with the Ottawa Redblacks in helping Drew Brown. And Drew Brown's got that arrow pointing up, I think, due in at least part to Masoli. So I think that's why it could be a great fit where, yes, it's going to be competitive because Jeremiah Masoli still wants to play and believes he can play it at a high level, but it's going to be more of that mentor relationship with Trey Ford.
Justin Dunk from 3 Down Nation joining us here on EST Afternoons. Let's go back to tomorrow, the big news of the day. VA lands in Calgary in a trade. Picks involved, not a first rounder. What did you make of the move by the Stampeders? For me, in my opinion, kind of, puts them on the map already back in the West there with VA joining the Stamps.
Yeah, I like the move for Calgary. The Stamps were the front runners the whole time from what I had heard.
Okay.
And you consider, what they were able to give up for them. I think it was great value going both sides. And I think this gives Calgary a different energy around the franchise. That's nothing against Jake Mayer, who I actually think is going to be sought after to be a backup and can kind of reinvigorate himself if he's on the sidelines for a little bit. I think he'd be a great fit in Saskatchewan, knows Mark Mueller's offense. But as far as Vernon Adams Jr. goes, I think this, really helps out the franchise that took some shots. Kadeem Carey, after he won the Grey Cup, to me on the field as the confetti was falling, fellas, did not hold back when I simply asked him about validation. And I think that bringing Vernon Adams Jr. in there is going to have a much different feel. That said, this roster still has to get better in some other key areas for Vernon Adams Jr. to realize the potential that the Stamps believe he has.
Yeah, it's going to be a crazy offseason. Go ahead, Gager.
No, I just like we were talking about how what those areas that the Elks need to improve on with VA in Calgary. Is it a focus on the O-line that Calgary really needs to look at to provide? I mean, every quarterback needs protection, but is that kind of an area that you're looking that the Stampeders need to improve most going into next year?
I would say the offensive line for sure. I think you need some secondary playmakers to step up behind Reggie Begelton. Let's say we know he can be a perennial 1,000-yard guy, but who else in that receiving core is going to consistently make plays game in and game out? I think that's going to be a real key for the offense. And then, also finding Dedrick Mills is good, but I think you need to find somebody who's reliable. That could be him, but he's got to clean up some of his off-field stuff. He was away from the team a little bit to be able to be that guy that you can count on. So I think there's some talent there, but I also think it needs to be supplemented. And really, for me, it goes to what Gager said, the offensive line and the receiving core, I think could go a long way.
Justin, how many teams were in on VA? Do you have a number on that?
It was mainly Calgary. I think Edmonton, I heard, checked in at least. And then you look around the league and really every other team is kind of set at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I know. Okay. We just had a listener wanted to know if there was how many teams were interested in or realistically in on VA. Last one for you, Justin. Great stuff as always on the CFL. Do you think the Elks will be announcing head coach here in the next 10 to 14 days?
I'm never really a timeline guy because that can kind of screw you a little bit. I can see it somewhat soon.
Ed Hervey did say before the season starts when he was asked at his media presser last week. So he had some fun with that. So, I'm just intrigued because I think they'd want it done before the end of the year. But again, timelines are hard. And I know Ed Hervey said he wants to take his time and do his due diligence and see what's best for the team. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see if we get some news from the Elks here in the next 10 to 14 days. Justin?
I would say real quick, I'll leave you with this, that from a ticket selling standpoint, this well, Hernan and Gager, that, when the schedule comes out and Christmas time is around, ideally, if you're pushing tickets, you'd like to have your head coach in place and your quarterback secured. I think that's why we're seeing some of these moves being made now at both of those positions because they're so critical for moving tickets.
No, that's a great point. Great stuff, like always, Justin. Enjoy the offseason. Well, really not an offseason for you as you're breaking all the CFL news, but I'm sure we'll have you on here in the near future. Thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Sounds good, fellas. Appreciate you.
All right. right. That's Justin Dunk from 3 Down Nation, who's usually breaking all the news. He's got a beat on the contract stuff and all that. So it's great stuff. And interesting.
The agent, right?
Yeah.
Interesting to see that. So, to be a fly on the wall in those negotiations would be fantastic to see, because I'm sure that there's the comparisons are already drawn up and there's a huge file on it, buddy.
You know what's crazy, Gager? He's probably Trey. Let me get Davis done first, and it's only going to be better for you in the long run. You know, he's saying that.
Oh yeah, of course. Dude, just a little side note. I don't mean to toot my own horn, but when I was shopping for agents back in the day, I went with Lee Steinberg and Jeffrey Morad, and one of their associates came up to my house to visit me. He brought. Do you remember Desmond Howard? And Rocket Ismail.
Yes.
Rocket Ismail didn't win the Heisman. Desmond Howard did. Yes. Desmond Howard, I think, won Super Bowl MVP with the Packers too. Anyway, runbacks but he had Desmond Howard's proposal, like his of his contract, with a comparison to Rocket Ismail in college, and it was a novel, dude, and everything was broken down. It was crazy looking at this.
That's such a sweet gig, man. Hey, being a sports agent, like you watch Jerry Maguire, which I know it's not like, I mean, it's somewhat ridiculous, some parts of the movie, but that's such a cool gig, man, to get your guys.
It's an untapped thing to have. You know, it's a lot of secrecy, though. They got to keep their mouths shut with things. But that would be a very interesting kind of behind-the-scenes look at any sport, right? The agent. I mean, we've all watched Ballers and how that's probably a little bit over the top. But where do you get some of those stories? I'm sure some of them are at least
real,
true.
Yeah, but we talk about this day and age of social media and stuff, like nothing's kept a secret. If it is, it's almost a miracle, Gager.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the agents are the ones giving the info. Like, it's not. Yeah.
Well, you see what they do. The name's escaping me. That was Fleury's agent, and was it in Vegas?
He's very active.
Yeah, very active on social media with his players, and not afraid to throw daggers, so to speak.
No, he's not. And good on him, man. I mean, that's the kind of guy you want working for yourself, right? So
he's doing the best for his clients, man.
Exactly. All right, 139. Great stuff on the CFL from Justin Dunk. We'll see what happens with the head coach for the Elks and possible contract extension for Trey Ford. But up next, it's Hernan's World, and we're going to start building our Four Nations team for Team Canada. Defensemen and goaltenders today. We want to hear from you as well. 780-218-9999, or hit us up on the Nasty Chat. Whether you agree or disagree with us, the three of us are going to put together our 7 defensemen and 3 goaltenders. That's all coming up here on EST Afternoons with Joaquin Gage and Hernan Salas. But first up, here's a sports update with Coob.
It's the Kings against the Jets. The Golden Knights on the ice with the Avalanche, and the Wild meeting with the Sabres for 15 total games around the NHL. And out east, Davis Alexander has signed a 3-year extension with the Montreal Alouettes after throwing over 1,300 yards for 6 touchdowns last season. Alexander can make over $1 million with the new deal. Down south, the Vikings are set to sign Daniel Jones to their practice squad on a 1-year deal worth $375,000. And in basketball, Grady Dick is out for the Raptors lineup when they take on the Pelicans. We also have the Knicks matching up with the Mavericks, and the Nuggets on the court with the Jazz, having 15 games around the league. Just after the break, EST Afternoons continues with Hernan Salas and Joaquin Gage. I'm Zachary Kubish, keeping you in the loop.
Wake up with the Nielsen Show with Dustin Nielsen and Lieutenant Eric. Weekday mornings 6 to 9 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
Black Friday at FXR Edmonton is the place to shop for the best deals of the year.
Whether you're looking for snowmobile apparel, riding gear, workwear, or a new jacket for looking stylish around town,
FXR Edmonton is the place to be. Door crasher deals up to 80% off, and the entire store is on sale, so don't miss out.
the best deals of the year. Black Friday at FXR Edmonton, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Come see us at 324 Mayfield Common.
Your brand deserves more than just a whisper, it deserves a buzz. At the Hive Product Marketing, they specialize in promotional products that bring the buzz. From eye-catching giveaways to unforgettable keepsakes, they got the perfect products to make your brand stand out and get noticed. Visit the Hive Product Marketing and let them create the buzz your business deserves. The Hive Product Marketing, the official merch partner of Edmonton Sports Talk. Visit them online at thehiveproductmarketing.com.
Hi there. If you're like me, you like to picture yourself in luxury, even though there's absolutely no way you could afford it. And if you can, well, even better. Thankfully, I picture myself in something that is luxury, but still absolutely affordable, like the all-new Mazda CX-90 from Park Mazda. With the new luxury features like facial recognition settings and quilted detail Napa leather seating, I can pretend to be comfortable with all of my proper settings activated without even touching a button, thanks to Mitch Lewicki and the great staff at Park Mazda. I like to picture Mitch Lewicki in a tuxedo t-shirt because it says, like, he wants to be formal, but he's also here to party too.
Park Mazda, your dealer for life in Sherwood Park off Y Road Park.
It's 1:43. Welcome back to EST Afternoons here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports. It's Hernan Salas, it's Joaquin Gage, it's Zach Kubish. Here coming up in hour number 2, Shawn Hutcheon from the fourth period. We'll talk all things Boston Bruins and, of course, another qualifier for the EST Flyaway to LA, which is presented by the 780. Only 2 more opportunities on our show, as the grand prize will be given away on November 29th. That's this Friday on the Dustin Nielsen Show. Just before we get to our team here, it says, I think Nuge, Hyman, Bush, and Skinner all make it. I think people overestimate how much the management will consider career versus the start of 1 year. That's a good point by Jared Gager. I just think again, I think Hyman might have a long shot there, but I don't think the other 3 are close, Gager.
No, I mean, the fact that he's injured doesn't help too right now, right?
Yeah,
so that's a question mark. It's so early to be picking this team. I don't understand why it has to be in now. Like, that doesn't make sense. I would wait till at least, what's wrong with waiting a couple weeks before? Most of these spots are in stone. This just protects them from, if there are injuries and you have to substitute guys or whatever, just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, Smitty the Welder and Jared having a good conversation there. They disagree, Gager. They disagree. But it's time for Hernan's World here on EST Afternoons, which is brought to you by the Garrison Curling Club. If you and your team are looking for a fun and exciting way to build some chemistry, look no further than the Edmonton Garrison Memorial Curling Club, located on CFB Edmonton. The Garrison Curling Club offers 6 sheets of ice, a full-service bar with kitchen, and includes all equipment needed for corporate bond spiels. And the Garrison Curling Club is run by Nasty's, Gager. As an added bonus, they will offer 10% off ice rentals to all EST listeners. Email curling@egmgolf.com and mention EST to book your corporate bond spiel today.
Viva la raza! Latino Heat!
All right, Gager, like we talked about already, next on December 4th, which is next Wednesday, the Four Nations rosters have to be in. A lot of mock drafts going on, a lot of people having fun, a lot of people disagreeing, and which is fine, Gager. But what we're going to do today is we're going to build the EST Afternoons Team Canada for the Four Nations Cup. We'll probably do the forwards on Heat and Smoke next Tuesday. We could do it Friday as well, as the Oilers still not in action. It's been a long break for this team. But Gager, we're going to do the 7 defensemen and the goaltenders today. How about we start with the goaltenders? Coob as well will chime in here, but I need you to pick one goalie that will be on this team.
It's very difficult because when you kind of look at the top goalies in the league right now, I think like you have to the spinning wheel of your mouse is like the price of right wheel to try to find a Canadian goaltender. You know, you're going way down. I think the first one is Aiden Hill, if I'm not mistaken. So, and you know, it makes sense. He's won the big one. Came in at the most important time of the year and is still a really good, capable goaltender. Numbers aren't great so far this season, but again, I think with the defenseman that we're going to be able to put around this guy, he's the first goalie I'm picking.
Who's that?
Aiden Hill.
Aiden Hill. Okay. You know what? That was gonna. Yeah. I mean, health is the big one there. But it's Stanley Cup champ. Yeah. I actually don't mind that one, Gager. I don't mind that. He's a British Columbia boy too, so I think that's why you picked him.
Probably.
Coop, who you pick? Who's your goaltender? We got to pick three.
Now, like Gager was saying, you got to scroll quite a ways to find even one feasible name. Like all the Americans and Swedes and Russians that are up at the top of the list are just insane. But I think the obvious pick for me is Calgarian. Logan Thompson, he's 9-1-1 right now with the Capitals, .917 save percentage. He's just on fire right now. So that's the one that really stands out for me. All the rest is kind of, 50-50, flip a coin and pick them.
So one former, the Vegas Golden Knights duo here so far. Aiden Hill, Logan Thompson, Nasties, we want to hear from you, 780-218-9999 or on the Nasty Chat. Do you agree with our first two picks so far? Guys, I'm going to go the veteran way here. I think you kind of need that guy, even if he's your third Gager or your backup, but I'm going to go with Jordan Binnington. And I know the numbers are not great, but he's a guy that's been there. He's won the big game. I think he's one of the better Canadian goaltenders still. He's just not on his team's not the best, Gager, but you look at the stats and they're pretty awful. But I think just because of the experience and winning the cup, I think that matters to management as well. So I'm going to pick Jordan Binnington. So the EST afternoon goaltenders for the Four Nations Cup are Aiden Hill, Logan Thompson, and Jordan Binnington. Now, boys, we need a consensus here. Who's the starter?
Oof. I mean, it's hard to say right now, but I looked at I looked at Logan Thompson and I was like, yeah, and he is one of the reasons why the Washington Capitals are off to such a good start this year.
Yeah.
I think it really depends on who's really playing the best at that time. But right now, I think I'm probably looking towards the guy with a little bit more experience. I think Binnington's probably the starter to start, but you probably could see one of the other guys too in that short span, depending on how the game one goes.
Coop, do you agree with Gager, or are you going to go another way? Because then we need a tiebreaker, and that will be me.
Well, I guess you got to be the tiebreaker because I'm stepping in to say, like, if it does start today, if it started today, I do agree it's a little bit soon to pick this team. Just for when the deadline is, but it would have to be Logan Thompson just because he's a guy on fire right now. And Binnington, he's got the experience and everything like that, but the stats aren't there to prove it for this year. So I go with Logan Thompson as the starter for Team Canada.
We might need to do a poll here because I was going to go Aiden Hill. Seriously, I think right now he's better of the three goalies. I get it with Logan Thompson, Gager. I do, but I think they're going to run Aiden Hill, probably Binnington as a backup, and Logan Thompson will be the third. So I don't know. We're not agreeing on this one. We've all picked a different starter. So if Coop can put that up on the Nasty Chat, who would you pick as a starter for Team Canada of these three goalies? And then that will be our starting goaltender, guys. VR Montenegro says Binnington, Thompson, Fleury. Is there an appetite, Gager, for Marc-Andre Fleury?
Maybe an hors d'oeuvre. I don't know if a
his
full
agent.
appetite.
His agent went on Twitter and said, why not Fleury?
I mean, you make a good case, right? That and by all accounts, this is his last year. He's still a good goaltender, man. Although it wasn't a great game by the Oilers, he aside from the lucky bounce, he looked good still for a 39-year-old guy. He can still do it, and it's just a short period of time. If he's kind of break glass in case you need a goaltender, right? He's definitely your third guy, but maybe someone that the other guy too can lean on a little bit. He's been in those types of, I mean, they've all played at some point probably these types of international tournaments, and just to have him around with everyone else, I think I don't mind it. But there is a changing of the guard with Canadian goaltenders.
Yeah, so Logan Thompson's 27, Aiden Hill is 28, and I'm just looking up Bennington. So I kind of like the age of the goalies too, Gager. I mean, not too young, not too old. And Bennington's only 31.
Yeah.
Yeah. So notable names we left off, guys. Stuart Skinner, who I think was in the conversation, Gager. I truly do. And hell, he might be.
He still might be. Like he's like 3A, I would say right now, right? But let's face it, the numbers. If you're just looking like how we look at these other guys, I mean, I've watched 2 Capitals games. I've watched Aiden Hill play a couple times. Bennington, it's basically highlights, right? So I haven't got a real good eye test on a lot of these guys. But just looking at their numbers compared to Skinner's, which probably, that they're going to factor in, he doesn't pass the numbers test. And from what I've seen so far, although he's had some good outings, he's been a little bit too inconsistent with his game. Like even I'm not saying he has to win every game, but just those. Because look, with this decor and the amount of chances that you're going to give up, I mean, these are the best players in the world, so they're going to generate chances. But you're going to have to take a few away at times, and you might not see shots for an extended period. So, just from what I've seen so far, Stu doesn't have his game at that level yet.
No, and the other name was Sam Montembeault. He's not on a very good team, guys. Right? Like, I think that's where it falls. I mean. The numbers are a little bit skewed because he's on one of the bottom teams, Gager. So, I didn't mind Sam Montembeault when his name was being thrown around, but I never saw him in the final 3. I thought Stuart Skinner was a lot closer. And I know we're getting some text for Joey Decord. Aiden O'Neill says he was born in the USA, but his father is Canadian and mom is Swiss, so he can declare for any of those countries. Read about it earlier. And I know you're a big Decord guy. You like his game.
Loved his game, man. Yeah. He's really good. But yeah, I just saw that he was a U.S. citizen or born there. So I didn't think he was available for Team Canada.
Shanzi says, "What about Olivier Rodriguez, a taxi squad guy?" I hope you're kidding, Shanzi. You're just trolling us, aren't you? He is. So Hernan's, Gagers, and Zach's on EST Afternoons goalies for Team Canada: Logan Thompson, Aiden Hill, and Jordan Bennington, and we couldn't come to a consensus. We put it on a poll on the good old Nasty Chat. Right now, Bennington leading the way, but we'll decide at the end of the show, guys, okay? So Bennington at 44%, Aiden Hill at 33%, Logan Thompson at 22%. Did we miss anyone? Any other names, Gager and Zach, that you can think of for Canadian goaltender outside of Skinner, Montembeault, and Fleury? Joey Decord?
I don't think so. Not really.
Cam Talbot, just to throw another name in the hat? No, not even close.
Yeah, and Smitty said, what about Dustin Wolf? But I'm pretty sure he's American.
Wolf's
He's
American.
born in California.
Yeah. He's a hell of... You think he would have been in if he was Canadian, Gage? Especially with the way he's playing? Yeah.
Young guy like that, that's what you want. He's like, it's either one or the other, I think. It's usually the old veteran guy that tags along or the young guy to, the heir apparent, so to speak, And yeah, he's the real deal, that Wolf. I didn't think that it was going to be a little bit more difficult for him, but look, this guy's been over the past 3 seasons, and I think he was actually voted to best goaltender in the American League last year. Right? This guy's proved he at every single level, and now he's kind of proving it at the best level. It's amazing.
So when you flip it to the U.S. side, I just want to throw this in for conversation. We'll do defensemen in the next segment. So let's just say it's Hellebuck, Ottinger, Swayman. That's a lot better than Canada, right, guys?
There's you're getting the best. I mean, you could just put Hellebuck in there and it's better, right? Like, it's crazy the wealth of really good American goaltenders that they have. It's a no-brainer that Hellebuck is your starter. I wonder though, just the amount of games he's going to play. He probably doesn't play them all, and I'm sure that that it'll either be like Ottinger might play in there. Who knows? Maybe they do take Wolf, as that young guy. But it's just the amount of games playing. Part of, I think, where a lot of Edmonton Oilers fans are at, like, look, do you really want Stu Skinner to be playing at this thing? Would it be better served to just have a couple weeks rest at that time, and if things are, and just get ready for that final push of the season? There's value in that, I think, as well, man.
I just think the Americans have a quite the edge when it comes to goaltending, and I know it's one part of the game, guys, but for me, those guys are three legit starters. I know Swayman's having an off year, but come on, like that's a loaded goaltending. I wonder who would be. Oh, well, Hellebuck's the starter for sure, and it's probably Ottinger as the backup, just the way Swayman's season's going this year.
Yeah, I would have to say that. There's a wealth, and even you look at the Finnish team with the play of Lankinen this year. Is he the top goalie for Finland? It's crazy, just the amount of European goaltenders that are, well, 2 U.S. guys are dominating in the stats right now, but then you get Russians, Finns, Swedes, another U.S., Russian. Yeah, there's something has to happen here for Canadian goaltenders.
Look at Sweden's Markstrom, Gustafsson from Minnesota, and Linus Ullmark from Ottawa. I think Canada's the weakest goaltending.
Yeah, you'd have to say that if you're giving check marks against everyone, you'd give the edge to every other one of those countries, I think.
Yeah, that's crazy because, like you said, Finland, Saros, Luukkonen, Korpisalo. Saros is legit. The other two are, meh. So maybe there, but is Saros better than anyone Canada can start? Probably.
He's always considered, the past few seasons, he's always in the top 5 for Vezina voting, right? So, Come on.
All right, the conversation's going to get a lot spicier as we're going to do defensemen, and I'm sure we'll have some disagreements here, but we got to come to a consensus. We'll have our 7 defensemen, but for EST Afternoon, there are 3 goalies. Will be Aiden Hill, Logan Thompson, and Jordan Binnington, and you, the Nasties, will pick the starter as we all picked a different one to start for Team Canada. That's all coming up next in Hour 2 of EST Afternoons. Big shout out to Justin Dunk for joining us in the first hour. Second hour, Shawn Hutcheon from the fourth period in Boston, as we'll talk some Bruins and another qualifier for the EST Flyaway to LA, which is proudly presented by the 780. More Four Nations talk after the break, but first up, here's Coob with a sports update.
Celebrating 70 years in the signage industry, William Huff Advertising is the most recognized name in the game. An in-house, one-stop shop for all of your design, print, and installation needs. William Huff provides quality graphic solutions for everyone. Here in our City of Champions and throughout the nation, they are the preferred signage partner entrusted by many of the biggest corporations, pro sports teams, and organizations to bring their identity to life. Recognize the name, get in the game. WilliamHuff.com.
Looking for a winning strategy for your retirement? Contact me, Joaquin Gage at K4 Financial, where expertise meets dedication. I will always look for a careful approach to your retirement, ensuring your financial future is secure. From tailored strategies to clear, actionable advice, I'm here to guide you every step of the way. Don't leave your future to chance. Get in touch with me, Joaquin Gage, today at k4financial.ca or email joaquin.gage@k4financial.ca to start planning for a brighter future and a more secure retirement.
In life, it takes a village. From childhood to your golden years, we all need support. At Capital Care Foundation, we've built that village for our 2,100 seniors. Join us in creating a nurturing environment that feels like home and fosters community connections. Your donation makes a difference. Visit capitalcarefoundation.net today and become a vital part of our village. Because together, we can make every stage of life a shared journey. Be a part of the journey. Support Capital Care Foundation.
In the NHL, we see the Canadiens take on the Blue Jackets. The Capitals meet with the Lightning, and the Flyers battle the Predators with 15 games around the National Hockey League. In Montreal, 26-year-old Davis Alexander has signed a 3-year extension with the Alouettes after posting a 5-0 record with 6 touchdowns and over 1,300 yards this past season. And after being released by the Giants, Daniel Jones has signed with the Vikings practice squad for under $400,000. In basketball, Grady Dick is out for the Raptors when they take on the Pelicans. We also have the Knicks matching up with the Mavericks and the Nuggets hitting the court with the Jazz with 14 games around the association. EST Afternoons with Hernan Salas and Joaquin Gage continues. I'm Zachary Kubish, keeping you in the loop.
Welcome back to Hour 2 here on EST Afternoons. Joaquin Gage, Hernan Salas, Zach Kubish here with you. And hour number 2, Shawn Hutcheon from the fourth period in Boston at 2:20. And then we'll have another qualifier for the EST Flyway to LA, which is proudly presented. I came in running because I was talking to Reed about goaltenders. Yeah, we're having a good conversation there. Got caught up in it and had to run back for sure. We're at 48 thumbs up. Let's get close to 100. Come on. Let's do it for Gager, who's feeling a little ill right now, and let's get his spirits up if we hit 100. Like always, hit us up on our text line at 780-218-9999 or on the Nasty Chat. We're coming to you live from the William Huff Studios here in the West End of the city. If you'd like to listen to us, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Just hit the Listen Live tab, or iHeart, TuneIn Radio. If you want to watch us, it's the EST YouTube channel. Boys, I was just talking to Reed about goalies, and imagine if Demko was healthy, guys. Like, that would be unreal. Gage, I think you're muted again.
That's what we initially thought of, right? Is that would be the 3: Ottinger, Hellebuck, and Demko. And it was like, geez, how do you pick at that point? Who's going to start that thing? I think you could just have a revolving door and just whoever's up, and keep them all playing. Yeah, I don't think Demko's going to be there, but no, it's a wealth of talent. The next Olympics will be interesting to see what happens for sure.
Induced Comics says Canadian top 6 makes up for the weak goaltender. Yeah, sure. C-Mac from the South Side says, I feel like I'd like to see Fleury make the team since he is by far our strongest, even if he's aging out. He might. He actually might. Gager, would it be crazy idea to have an actual backup goalie for the number 2 or 3? Do you want 3 starters? For Matt Hunt.
I don't know if I'd. Well, who would you consider a Canadian backup that you would take? That's tough. You're taking a maybe an unknown at that point.
Pickard.
Yeah. I mean, he's played well, but I just think you want a guy that you've seen before. Just the ability to win a game by themselves. It's so important in tournaments like these, where it's not a 7-game series, right? It's just, it's tough. And if one guy gets hot, it doesn't matter. And that's why, I mean, yeah, would it be great to have names like Curtis Joseph, Patrick Waugh, and Martin Brodeur as your 3 goalies? Yeah, for sure. But saying that, all you need is one of these guys to get hot for 2 weeks, and that's it. And that's a lot easier than going through trying to slag through 4 rounds in the playoffs and win 16 games.
Yeah, Koob, you had something to say?
Yeah, I was going to say Laurent Brossoit. He's from Port Alberni.
Yeah, that's not a bad one either. Imagine that, eh? That'd be absolutely amazing. All right, guys, let's build our defensemen. 6 starting defensemen, left-righty, if we're going to go that route. I don't know if we necessarily have to. In a 7th defenseman, I think we can all agree that Cale Makar will be on the team, guys.
I think he's been named. He's like guaranteed. That's just like he's there already. You don't even have to think about it.
They're not even going to nominate him. They're like, you're on the team. But Cale Makar obviously will be there. He's a right shot defenseman. Kay Gager. Who else do you want to see here?
I think just the way he's been playing this year is Morrissey. I think he makes the team as well.
Josh Morrissey from the Winnipeg Jets. I remember years ago, Gager, when he was signing a bridge, and so was Darnell Nurse. There was always comparisons that Darnell would be better. I think Josh Morrissey has lapped Darnell Nurse.
Dude, he's been in the Norris conversation for years. Watch what he does. I'm not saying he's Quinn Hughes, but he does a lot of the same things that Quinn Hughes does. Not at that highest skill level, but I do think that Morrissey is a little bit better defensively than Quinn Hughes is. So pick your poison, right?
All right, so that's a good start because we've picked a lefty and a righty. Makar, Morrissey, first 2 selected to the EST Afternoons Team Canada Defense Corps. Zach Kubish, who are you going with?
My pick would be Shea Theodore.
Oh.
He is a stud on the back end. He can make plays. He's good defensively as well, and he just signed a big extension with the Golden Knights. He's a big piece on there. He's like a cornerstone piece on their defensive end, and I think he's a fantastic defenseman, probably, and most definitely the 3rd pick for a Canadian team.
Gager, do you like that pick?
Yeah, when you watch him play, the guy can move. Carry the puck up the ice. That's kind of what you want. Really, really solid player. No issues with having Shea Theodore on the team at all.
Okay. I'm going to go with another Vegas Golden Knights. I think he has to be there. I know he's banged up right now, but he should be good to go. I know he's a little bit older, 34 years old, but Alex Pietrangelo, I think he has to be on this team. I think the experience, he's good defensively, he's good offensively, has a good first pass, can play in all situations. I have to go with Alex Pietrangelo as another addition to our D-core. Zach Gager, what do you guys think of that pick?
Probably wears a letter, at this point. I think, he's
good call.
He would be at that point. They're all leaders, but I think you mentioned his experience, his age. He's the ability to get into the heads of other teams and start thinking about him rather than he brings the whole package, right? He's mean, he's aggressive, he can play on the power play, he's an excellent penalty killer. Any goalie would be lucky to have what we have so far in front of them. All right, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's just, and he's greasy too. Like he can be dirty, sneaky, dirty, sneaky. Zulu says the Canadian Golden Knights. All right, guys. So we have 2 righties, we have 2 lefties. Who's up? Gager, you're back up. Who would you add as the 5th defenseman? Not the 5th defenseman, but our 5th selection.
I think I would go with. I don't call him Dougie. I call him Doug Hamilton from the New Jersey Devils. He's an awesome player. You saw what he meant to the New Jersey Devils when he got injured. I think he tore a pectoral muscle. They had issues in goal, but New Jersey went even further into the tank when he got injured last year. Watching him play and how he transports the puck with that good New Jersey team. Him and he's a 1-2 defenseman, and in our kind of lineup, I don't know where he slots in, maybe 4 or 5. That's impressive to have him that low in the lineup.
Coob, you okay with Dougie Hamilton? You like it?
I would second that. That was going to be my next pick, and I feel like he took the extra step. He was already a fantastic defenseman before leaving the Hurricanes and coming to the Devils, but once he did, man, he took that step, and the injuries kind of put him in a quiet spot where people kind of forgot about him for a little bit, but he did mean so much to that Devils team, and it's showing now with 17 points in 24 games this season.
All right, you're up next, Coops. We have 2 selections left. I'll take the last one.
Well, somebody who hasn't really been named yet and might have some trouble here in Edmonton.
Oh,
Evan Bouchard.
Oh,
wow.
Wow.
I know, right?
We might have to veto this one, Gager. What do you think?
Well, Koob, like when he watches games, he likes to be on the edge of his seat, and no one puts you on the edge of your seat more than when Evan Bouchard has the puck and is on the ice.
I just want to make it exciting, right?
He's entertainment, that's for sure. Right?
I just look. The problem with Evan Bouchard is what we saw what he was capable of, right?
Yeah.
And it was flawless. I won't say maybe flawless, but solid defensive play while providing unbelievable offense too in the Stanley Cup playoffs last year. It's a little bit better last few games, but I just think you can't just have, when you have Cale Makar, you could really just have 5 other solid defensive defensemen, right? Because you're probably running, these power plays are probably going to have 4 forwards, 1D on it anyway. And if you have Morrissey and Makar already, I don't think the need for Bouchard is there. I would rather have, both those guys kill penalties anyway, but I'd rather have someone else because Bouchard doesn't kill penalties. And what does he do? He's a power play specialist. And you already have, arguably, he could be one of the best to ever play in Cale Makar because he's breaking records that haven't been touched since Bobby Orr.
Doc, that says, considering Four Nations is going to be all-star game level intensity, maybe Bouchard is a sneaky pick. That's where he excels. And listen, a lot of the mock drafts, guys, like Bouchard's on there. Like the NHL.com has them. It's like I would have not selected him. I think we talked about it. Like I don't think any of these 3 Oilers are going to make the team, Gager. But it's Coop's pick, and he's got to live with it now. So there's nothing to say about it. And listen, he's on the radar, guys. Like he's having a bad year, so it's not like this is way out of left field. Like at the start of the season, Evan Bouchard was probably a lock.
Yeah, I would say so. Like I'll second it with Gager. Like his playoff performance in the Stanley Cup run, it was just absurd, and he's still kind of in the talks, but you already got Makar. There's no point to add another really highly offensive defenseman, even when he defends worse than Makar does.
Yeah, it's true. Guys, I'm torn for the last pick for us. I don't know if we have to go lefty because we have 4 righties right now. I don't think it matters, Gager. I think these guys can all play. I'm not too worried about that. But so let's get to a consensus. I like Noah Dobson and I like Devin Taves. Both right shots. I think both these guys will be on the team when it's all said and done, but we can only pick one. Where would you guys lean towards? Gager?
Tell you the truth, I don't have. So we're looking at a left, right?
They're both right. Devin Taves is a lefty. Noah Dobson's a righty.
I thought about Taves, but again, this gets to a point where I'm thinking more on the defensive side. He's good. I won't get that, but he's a highly skilled guy. You know who I kind of looked to more was just a little south of us with Mackenzie Weegar.
That's another good one. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys watched the World Championships at all, but he dominated. He was Canada's best player. I think he opened some eyes on the international game. I would lean more towards Mackenzie Weegar before any of those, including Bouchard, with those 2.
Zach, I'll say this before Zach chimes in here. Devin Taves doesn't he play with Makar?
Yeah.
So that could be a big one there. And he's a good player. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not like Makar carries him. Well, he does a bit, but Devin Taves can hold his own, boys.
That's why I kind of had him in the mix. Like, just the chemistry there with him and Makar, that could really be something. That's kind of why we're thinking, before the season kind of went on, Zach Hyman could have been slotted with McDavid kind of to be that Chris Kunitz type. And I'm not saying Devin Taves is a bad player. He's a fantastic player, but just the mesh with their chemistry already could add so much to that team. Weegar is a really good pick though too.
Yeah. So you're picking Taves? I think I got to go Taves, guys. I was going to go not Dobson, but just the lefty helps and plays with McCarr. And I like Noah Dobson. I probably would have took Dobson over Bouchard as well. I like the Uyghur's that sneaky pick, man, because that guy can do it all, man.
Yeah,
we just dislike him because he's in Calgary, guys. Let's be honest.
I know. Yeah.
This is what TSN had, okay, boys? They had Taves with McCarr, Josh Morrissey with Evan Bouchard, Shea Theodore with Noah Dobson, and Chris Tanev as their 7th.
Wow.
Okay. NHL.com has Evan Bouchard, Noah Dobson, Cale Makar, Josh Morrissey, Shea Theodore, and Devin Taves. So a lot of these teams are picking Evan Bouchard, right? Like it's...
How bad is that? We're not picking him. We're from the... we watch him more than everybody.
Well, we did pick him.
Yeah, I know. Wow.
Well, we didn't.
Yeah.
Our producer did. All right, guys. This is our decor for the Four Nations Team Canada. Ready? Cale Makar, Alex Pietrangelo, Dougie Hamilton, Evan Bouchard, Josh Morrissey, Shea Theodore, Devin Taves. What do you guys think? I like it.
It's all right. It's all right.
You're just saying that because of the Bouchard pick.
So you would have Dobson or Uyghur instead of Bouchard, Gager?
Yeah, or where are we at lefty righty there?
We have 4 righties, 3 lefts.
I mean, I think you could almost probably look at even Morgan Riley too.
Yeah.
You know, he's a left shot, so yeah. To tell you the truth, it's I hate to say it, but this is just based on his play lately, and I just don't like having Bouchard out there. You know,
he might be the 7th, Gager, if he makes the team. He might. TSN had Bennington, Aiden Hill, and Sam Montembeault, so pretty close with what we had. And then NHL.com had Bennington, Montembeault, and Stuart Skinner.
Okay. Obviously, they don't know what they're talking about.
But it's a good point, though, guys, because are they going on recency bias like this year, or is it the whole picture, like the body of work?
I think it's they glance back to the body of work, but I think it's more, what have you done for me lately? You know, there's a lot of recency bias with these selections, I think. And again, this is why I wonder, like Stuart Skinner could go on a complete heater, not get picked, and be the best goalie in the league, and then be like, oh, what were we thinking? You know, like it makes it, and the other guys could be struggling. So I don't like it. I don't like having to solidify the rosters this early.
Yeah, it's true, right? They could have waited till January, but
why not wait till January? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
All right, guys. Matt Hyman says that's an interesting list of demon. Yeah, but I mean, you have the best defenseman in the entire world of hockey in Cale Makar.
Yeah,
like Gager said, it does it really matter, and his partner. And then for me, the Vegas guys are legit, man. Like those guys are top defensemen, Gager.
Yeah, I mean that whole decor of the Knights is scary to look at. But
Josh Morrissey underrated? I
think so.
Yeah,
I think
good,
so,
man.
Oh, watch Winnipeg games. It's crazy. He operates at a different level IQ. I mean, I remember watching because he was with Leon, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't fair when those two were on the ice.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Awful. Just absolutely awful to teams. No, he's super smart. He can slow the game down, speed the pace up. Dances across that blue line. He has a physical element to his game too. Like, you know, he's not the biggest guy, but I find him a very solid defender as well. Full package.
He's excellent. So EST Afternoons, Joaquin Gage, Zach Kubish, Hernan Salas have selected Aiden Hill, Logan Thompson, and Jordan Bennington as their 3 goalies. There's 7 defensemen: Cale Makar, Alex Pietrangelo, Dougie Hamilton, Evan Bouchard, Josh Morrissey, Shea Theodore, and Devin Taves. Let us know what you think. We'll find out next Wednesday, and we'll do our forwards maybe Friday or the following Monday. I'm sure we'll have some fun with the forward group because there's a lot of great options. But up next, Shawn Hutcheon from the fourth period in Boston. We'll take the temperature there on the Bruins after their coaching change with Shawn. It should be a fun conversation. And, of course, the EST Flyway to LA. We'll have another qualifier coming up shortly. This is EST Afternoons. Hernan Salas, Joaquin Gage. But first up, here's a sports update with Zach.
We have a 15 NHL game slate seeing the Rangers battle the Hurricanes, the Flames matching up with the Red Wings, and the Maple Leafs against the Panthers without Austin Matthews in tonight's lineup. And in football news, the Montreal Alouettes have extended Davis Alexander to a 3-year deal after he went 5-0 throwing for over 1,300 yards this past season. Elsewhere, Daniel Jones is set to sign with the Vikings on a 1-year deal, having Jones report to the team's practice squad. And it's the Raptors tonight tipping off with the Pelicans, having 14 games around the association. Just after the break, Shawn Hutcheon from the fourth period joins EST Afternoons. I'm Zachary Kubish, keeping you in the loop.
Book your holiday party at the CBH today. The Canadian Brewhouse is your ultimate destination for events, parties, fundraisers, and more. 'Tis the season to celebrate. Visit and book now in-store or at thecanadianbrewhouse.com.
Ready for an unforgettable sports experience? It's the EST Flyaway to LA. Presented by the 780. Listen daily for the EST Flyaway keyword. Once you hear it, text us at 780-218-9999 for your chance to qualify to fly to LA. Round trip flights for 2, hotel and car rentals, all to go see Edmonton face off against either LA or Anaheim. Plus, experience the brand new Intuit Dome as the Clippers tip off against the Warriors, and top it all off with the Rams kicking off against the Cardinals at SoFi Stadium. This is more than just a trip. This is the ultimate sports experience. The EST Flyaway to LA, presented by the 780 and Edmonton Sports Talk. Your clear choice for Edmonton sports.
Hockey lives at the Canadian Brewhouse. Every Oilers game day, get $1 off tankards of Molson Canadian and Coors Light. Plus, you can win game tickets and a surf and turf dinner for 2 at the end of the season. Full details at thecanadianbrewhouse.com.
Celebrating 70 years in the signage industry, William Huff Advertising is the most recognized name in the game. An in-house, one-stop shop for all of your design, print, and installation needs. William Huff provides quality graphic solutions for everyone. Here in our City of Champions and throughout the nation, they are the preferred signage partner entrusted by many of the biggest corporations, pro sports teams, and organizations to bring their identity to life. Recognize the name, get in the game. WilliamHuff.com.
Maybe we just don't belong. I say we set it on fire. Maybe we just don't belong. I say we set it on fire.
224, welcome back to EST Afternoons here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports. Portions of this hour brought to you by the Canadian Brewhouse. Book your holiday party at the CBH today, your ultimate destination for events, parties, fundraisers, and more. 'Tis the season to celebrate. Visit and book now at thecanadianbrewhouse.com. It's Hernan Salas, it's Joaquin Gage. We just built our goalies and defense for Team Canada's roster at the Four Nations. The rosters will be announced next Wednesday, December 4th. Our selections were for goalies, Aiden Hill, Logan Thompson, and Jordan Binnington. Defensemen, Makar, Pietrangelo, Hamilton, Bouchard, Morrissey, Theodore, Taves. Coob Nation really stuck it to us with that Bouchard pick. But
yeah.
I mean, he might be there. Hey, cool little story. Did you see your boy Jake DeBrusk score against his former team yesterday?
Yeah, and I felt like he, after he scored, he was going to kind of give it to the fans a little bit, but he kind of subdued. He goes, oh, wait, I'm back in Boston. Get out of here alive, maybe. I don't know. But no, it was good, man. I mean, he's feeling it. He's really feeling it. Yeah. I don't know. Did you catch the after hours I don't know. I don't think the Oilers played there, but there was after hours. Obviously, Louis was there, and Scott Oak with Jake and some of the story. It's funny the cadence of they have the same cadence when they speak, both father and son, which is quite funny. But Jake went into the decisions, and I think Edmonton was kind of on the list, to come back home and play. But and he's got someone special in his life. I think she works in Calgary too, or close to. So that went into the decision to go to Vancouver as well. But if you ever get a chance to meet Jake, he's a solid dude, and I'm glad to see him finally having some success out on the coast.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was kind of cool to see. And I saw bits and parts. I think Jake was chirping Louis about showing his muscles, something like that. We're at 56 thumbs up. That's an all-time low for EST Afternoons. Let's get to 100. We got about just over 30 minutes. Remember, it helps get eyes on the show. So hammer that thumbs up if you're watching on the EST YouTube channel. But let's get to our guest, Shawn Hutcheon from the fourth period, covering the Boston Bruins. Shawn, it's been a long time, but how you doing, my friend?
It has been a long time. I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me on, and I hope the two of you are doing well.
Yeah, we're doing excellent here. It's the Oilers haven't played since Saturday, and they don't play till Friday, Shawn. So it's been kind of quiet. I'm not gonna lie, it's been kind of nice as well. But let's talk about the Bruins. 2-1 since the firing of Montgomery there under Joe Sacco. The team has scored 3 goals and has 3 goals against. Like I said, they're 2-1. How's the team looked under their interim head coach?
They look like they're playing inspired hockey again. Unfortunately, under Jim Montgomery, there really wasn't a lot of compete level on the ice, especially the month of November. And since Joe Sacco has come in and taken over as the interim head coach, that compete level has returned for the most part. Last night being a really good example. I mean, they unfortunately were shut out by the Canucks, but the Bruins had 72 shot attempts. They put 33 on net. It's just one of those games where they ran into a goaltender in Kevin Lankinen who just played out of his mind. And, unfortunately, Vancouver, Jake DeBrusk in Vancouver won the game, but the Bruins have shown life, and they seem to be maybe trending in the right direction. It's early, but there is that possibility.
So, Shawn, when you say that there was uninspired hockey, did Cam Neely kind of look at the whole situation and see that this was the major reason why the Bruins had success, or was this because we've seen them do this in the past before, just not exactly where the Bruins want to be at this time of the year? Or was this just another massive shakeup to maybe wake up some of the players of the Boston Bruins?
I think it was a little bit of both, but I do believe that it was more of the shakeup to wake up the players. And it's something that had been spoken about since the start of the season. Brad Marchand had talked about it a couple of times after games, and David Pastrnak spoke about it, and Jim Montgomery himself spoke about that. There was, or there appeared to be, just a lack of accountability on some players' parts. And of course, there were no names mentioned, but Brad Marchand spoke about it at length after they lost to Columbus about a couple of weeks ago. It was a 5-1 loss on home ice. And after that game, Marchand went on and said that there was the possibility that, not possibility, he said that there were some players who were having some trouble looking in the mirror and saying, I need to be better, and that the best players in the world can do it. And so everyone needs to be able to do it. And he said, including himself. So I think it was that. There was just that, like I said, that lack of accountability. And I think it was because that, and like he said also, it started with the compete level. Just some players seem to be a little comfortable. They seem to maybe were thinking, okay, this is where I want to be, and I'm happy to be here, and so now I can go out there and play, but I don't need to prove. I don't have much to prove to people. When the Boston Bruins culture is always, no, we're going to go out there, we're going to compete every second we're on the ice, we're going to do everything we can to win games, and a lot of players either had gotten away from that or just haven't really seemed to understand that that's the Bruins' way of playing hockey. And so relieving Montgomery of his duties, I think, was that wake-up call. It's a shame. I mean, he had a lot of success here in Boston, but I'm not too sure that that's the only change that will be made. Don Sweeney said that he will be assessing players, and the players, I'll paraphrase that, the players who love to represent the Boston Bruins and who love being in Boston will stay in Boston, and those who don't will find themselves playing elsewhere, and that it'll be all performance-based.
Shawn Hutcheon from the fourth period joining us here, talking all things Boston Bruins. Shawn, how much of this was it on the roster, the way it was built for this season? I've seen some articles out there and some Boston media on the X machine saying like the GM needs to take some ownership of this as well. Did you buy into that the roster maybe is not as good as it was in past years?
Yes, I do, and actually, I'm one of those writers who did write that recently for the fourth period, and I said that the roster construction is on Sweeney himself. The last 2 years, and especially 2 years ago, when the team posted the best record in the history of the game, they had players who were goal scorers. They could score goals in bunches, and they defended extremely well, and they had two great goaltenders now in Ullmark and Swayman. Now you have Jeremy Swayman, who missed pretty much all the training camp and has seemed to try to be playing catch up a little bit. He's beginning to round into his conventional game. But the overall defense hasn't been playing that great. And when it comes down to, I had a couple of weeks ago, I had a friend who was watching a game on TV and texted me and said, they're not finishing their chances. And my reaction was, look at the roster. Other than David Pastrnak and a healthy Brad Marchand, they really don't have players who are going to score 20, 30 goals a season. And so that's been a big problem this year. And it shows when you look at the stats, the Bruins have scored just 51 goals this season, and they're 30th in the NHL in goals scored.
Shawn, you mentioned Swayman. I mean, the goalie hug was such a big part of the Boston Bruins for years there. We were all kind of sitting back with the big tubs of popcorn as this saga unfolded with Swayman finally signing. You said a little bit behind the eight ball. How is you mentioned his game's kind of rounding back into form, but how much of an effect is it not having a partner like Ullmark with him? That having that 1-2 punch and goal was the envy of the NHL. Now Swayman finds himself as the bona fide number one guy. How's he dealing with that type of pressure?
It's brand new for him, and I mean, other than when he played at the University of Maine, he was the number one guy there. But of course, we're talking about NCAA versus NHL, which are two separate worlds, and so I think he's beginning to find his way as the number one guy. That bond that he and Ullmark shared and still share was real. It wasn't a manufactured thing. It wasn't just for the cameras, and the hug wasn't something that they just said, "Hey, let's just do this and get a great fan reaction." Like I say, it was real, and they're very close. They become very close. They remain very close, and I think it was a big lift for Swayman in that if he felt his game wasn't on, he could go to Ullmark and say, "What are you seeing? You're sitting on the bench at night, on the nights that I'm playing. What are you saying? What can I do to be better? Or what should I have done in this situation?" And of course, they have one of the best goaltender coaches in the world, I think, in Bob Asenza, who sees those things. But yeah, when it's like when you have a close friend or a brother, you go to them before you go to anyone else to ask for advice. And I think Swayman is missing that.
Shawn, you did mention that you don't think this team's done with the shakeups. Are you hearing anything? If they are looking to upgrade this roster, what do you think they're looking for? And how realistic is it that it happens before the deadline?
Well, I think the number one need is a goal scorer. They do need to add some speed to the roster as well, but they're hoping to add someone who can score goals on a consistent basis, and that, of course, who doesn't want that? So that's a difficult thing or player to find, because when the teams have someone like that, they don't want to give them up, or if they do, it needs to be quite a package in return, which is something that the Bruins I would argue, don't really have on the NHL roster or the AHL roster, which and even for draft picks, because in building the rosters these last 2 years and going for it, being all in for the Stanley Cup, and unfortunately losing two years in a row to Florida Panthers, Don Sweeney gave up a lot of draft picks. So, other teams were picking in the first and second round a couple of years ago, and the Bruins had to wait until the third round to make their first selection. So, like they say, they need a goal scorer, but it won't come easy and it won't come cheap.
Yeah, no, definitely. Shawn, thank you for taking the time this afternoon. Always good to check in on the Boston Bruins after a coaching change, and we'll see if they can turn it around and add pieces like you just mentioned. Great stuff as always, Shawn. Always good catching up with you, and I'm sure we'll have you on once Boston and Edmonton meet.
That will be fun. It's always fun to be on, and it's always fun to watch the Oilers and the Bruins compete on the ice.
Good stuff, Shawn. Thanks again. That was Shawn Hutcheon from the fourth period there in Boston. An interesting team. I was just looking at their lines, Gager, and I think we talked about this last week too. Like Pavel Zacha, Morgan Geekie on your first line. There's a reason they're struggling scoring goals, Gager.
Well, it's not only that; it's keeping it out of their own net too. Like the goal differential is minus 21. Right.
Wow.
Like it's very, very lopsided when you look at the top. Like I think they're ninth in the conference.
Yeah.
You look at every team above them and they're all plus goal differentials. So there's a lot of work to do in Boston to get back. Maybe a trade with the Edmonton Oilers. Maybe they're looking for a goal scorer that,
who you recommending? Who you, Jeff Skinner?
Yeah, it could be something, right? I'm looking to see what they would get back, though. But this would probably be something on the back end, I think, that they would be looking at. I'm just not sure what guy kind of fits that mold. Carlo, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that's tough. You don't want to lose that guy, I think, if you're Boston too, right? But
and down years for Elias Lindholm. David Pasternak's not even close to what he's usually posting up. It's going to be an interesting team to watch here going forward, because can Swayman find the way back? Also, Gager, that's the big one, right? Because he's a good goaltender.
He's a good goaltender, man. But it's one thing to be in the kind of that platoon system. He was the young guy with the older guy. I would say, like when the whole relationship started, Allmark was the big dog. Swayman was the young guy coming in, and he's playing with house money at times a little bit. And now the media scrums don't go to your partners every second game or third game too, right? They're always waiting to see what you have to say and the reasons why you let on that softie from the corner. It's a completely different way that you have to approach the game now when you're the number one guy. So I think he can figure it out. He's a tremendous goaltender. I distinctly remember the game last year that was here. He was fantastic in that game, and it was an unreal hockey game. But he's got to figure it out, because obviously, I don't know, maybe these goalies were covering up a lot of the defensive deficiencies of this team for a long period of time. And it's funny how blinded some GMs can get with good goaltending and not realizing how leaky they are. And then all of a sudden the goaltending goes into the pooper. You're wondering, well, what happened? And you got to fire the coach.
Yeah, that's a good point. Vic says the silent celebration by DeBrus said more to Boston fans than if he had celebrated crazy. Yeah, that's a good point. Excellent point there. So it's going to be fascinating to watch Boston this season to see if they can find a way into the playoffs, and maybe they make a big trade to shake it up. Shawn said he doesn't think they're done just yet after the coaching change, but it's time now for the EST Flyaway to LA, which is presented by the 780. The 780 is a homegrown local shop right here in Edmonton. 780 is both the shop name and their in-house clothing brand that celebrates all things unique to E-Town. They also work with close to 100 local vendors from the 780 area code to help promote and get their brands off the ground. Check them out online at 780.com or at any of their 5 locations at Southgate, Londonderry, Kingsway, St. Albert, and the Outlet Mall by the airport. This is your second last chance on the EST Afternoons. Okay, the keyword Take out your phones. Text 780-218-9999. And the key word for today is angels. 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 Text that in to 780-218-9999. And Zach will pick our next qualifier, and we'll chat with them on the other side of the break. It's Hernan Salas. It's Joaquin Gage. It's EST Afternoons on Edmonton Sports Talk. But first up, here is Zach with a sports update.
It's the Kings against the Jets. The Golden Knights on the ice with the Avalanche, and the Wild meeting with the Sabres for 15 total games around the NHL. Out east, Davis Alexander has signed a 3-year extension with the Alouettes after throwing over 1,300 yards for 6 touchdowns this past season. Alexander can make over $1 million with his new deal. And down south, the Vikings are set to sign Daniel Jones to their practice squad on a 1-year deal worth $375,000. And in basketball, Grady Dick is out of the Raptors lineup tonight when they take on the Pelicans. We also got the Knicks matching up with the Mavericks and the Nuggets on the court with the Jazz, having 14 games around the association. EST Afternoons returns just after the break. I'm Zachary Kubish, keeping you up to date.
Want the heavy hitters on your team, both on and off the ice. If you've been injured in a car accident, call the heavy hitters of injury law. James H. Brown and Associates, Alberta injury lawyers. With over 200 years of combined injury law experience, their precedent-setting lawyers are ready to help. Locally owned and proud Edmonton Oilers fans, James H. Brown and Associates wants to support you with their unrivaled experience, unrivaled results, and unrivaled commitment. When accidents happen, head to jameshbrown.com.
Black Friday at FXR Edmonton is the place to shop for the best deals of the year.
Whether you're looking for snowmobile apparel, riding gear, workwear, or a new jacket for looking stylish around town,
FXR Edmonton is the place to be. Door crasher deals up to 80% off, and the entire store is on sale, so don't miss out.
the best deals of the year. Black Friday at FXR Edmonton, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Come see us at 324 Mayfield Common.
780 is just another lame-ass, low-budget local shop. Homegrown right here in Edmonton. 780 is both the shop name and their in-house clothing brand that celebrates all things unique to E-Town. They also work with close to 1,000 local vendors from the 780 to help promote and get their brands off the ground. Check them out online at 780.com or at any of their 5 locations at Southgate, Londonderry, Kingsway, St. Albert, and the Outlet Mall by the airport.
Looking for a winning strategy for your retirement? Contact me, Joaquin Gage at K4 Financial, where expertise meets dedication. I will always look for a careful approach to your retirement, ensuring your financial future is secure. From tailored strategies to clear, actionable advice, I'm here to guide you every step of the way. Don't leave your future to chance. Get in touch with me, Joaquin Gage, today at k4financial.ca or email joaquin.gage@k4financial.ca to start planning for a brighter future and a more secure retirement.
Final segment here on EST Afternoons. Joaquin Gage, Hernan Salas, and Zach Kubish. It's been a fun show. Justin Dunk from 3 Down Nation joined us to talk all things CFL. In Hernan's world, we built our Team Canada roster for the Four Nations tourney. We got our defensemen and our goaltenders. We'll give those out here shortly. And Shawn Hutcheon from the fourth period in Boston joined us to talk all things Bruins as they made a coaching change, just to get a beat on how things are going down there as well. 64 thumbs up, very, very low for a Wednesday, Gager. I mean, it's the middle of the week. You should be excited. Let's do it. Come on. Let's get at least to 80. That's only 16 more. We won't even push it to 100 because we're at an all-time low for that. Gager, we're just ahead of our next qualifier. We only have one more after today. How crazy is that? It's flown by.
When they originally said that the draw's not till the end of November, I was like, well, this is going to take forever. I mean, but
that's what I thought.
Yeah, I was like, but you know what? This is great. I'm excited, and like I said, if you win the flyaway trip, you got to be sending pictures back to EST so we can see what's going on down there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm intrigued to see who's going to win this puppy, and it's going to be with the big guy Dustin Nielsen and Lieutenant Eric, of course, tomorrow, Thursday Night Football. It's Thanksgiving, so we're going to have three games starting nice and early. It's going to be great. I think Eric's still at Centric Casino at the Fort Road for the later game, but 3 games on tap tomorrow. That's going to be fun. It's always fun, Thanksgiving down in the U.S. when it comes to the NFL. And then the Oilers finally will play a game on Friday, Gager. It's been what a run.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to tomorrow actually watching the Detroit Lions and not cringing. You know, like how many?
That's a tradition like no other. Yeah.
Yeah. How many years are you just watching that Lions game going, oh, you know?
Hey, but
you had Barry Sanders, and it was a shining light way back when. Then Megatron, you know, the Stafford. Some glimmer of hope at times, but nothing. But finally, we get some Detroit games where you know they're bearable to watch, which is good.
Yeah, so it'll be Bears Lions at 10:30 a.m. and then we get this juggernaut Cowboys Giants. Holy smokes, at 2:30, and then yes, Lieutenant Eric will be at the casino for Packers Dolphins at 6:20. That's a pretty good game because Tua's playing pretty well right now, but we do have our qualifier on the line. Who are we speaking to, Zach?
Chris,
how you doing this afternoon?
Hey, I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Wow, we're doing excellent. Congratulations on qualifying and your second last chance here on EST Afternoons. If you win this trip to Los Angeles, who would you take with you?
Probably one of my close buddies.
Oh, nice. You guys won't get in any trouble down there, eh, for 4 days?
No, not at all, right? What happens in LA stays in LA.
Exactly. If you win this trip, you'll win a flight for 2 to LA with hotel and rental car. You would leave on Boxing Day to return on the 30th. You would watch Clippers, Warriors, Rams, Cardinals, and the Oilers in either Anaheim or LA. Of those 3 leagues, which one would you be the most excited to go watch?
Probably see my Oilers in another city.
Yeah, that's probably that's the correct answer. Well, Chris, I hope you and your buddy are called on Friday morning from Dustin Nielsen and Lieutenant Eric. All the best, and we'll be listening Friday, man. Keep that phone on.
Right on. Thanks, guys.
All right, that was Chris, our second last qualifier on EST Afternoons for the EST Flyaway to LA, which is proudly presented by the 780. Check them out online at 780.com or at any other 5 locations: Southgate, Londonderry, Kingsway, St. Albert, and the Outlet Mall by the airport. Gager, I promised our listeners we'd talk Jeff Skinner. They need to find out what they're going to do with this player. Not that I don't think anyone's freaking out, like, oh my God, what are we going to do with Jeff Skinner? But he's kind of been up and down in the lineup. He's not producing. You brought this guy in for a reason to play in your top 6. So my question to you and our listeners is, how do you handle Jeff Skinner for the rest of the season? For me, it's very simple. Play him in the damn top 6. Give him some run with either McDavid or Draisaitl and see what you got. Because until you do that, Gager, you won't know. And you're going to keep flip-flopping him through up and down the lineup. He's never going to find a groove. And then we're all going to sit here and call it a failure.
Yeah. He needs some run time with a one or some of the big dogs. Lots of ice time. You know, get him out there. I think I'm very optimistic that things will work out for him. He just needs to, you know, find a little bit more of a chemistry with certain players. I don't know if that's a duo. It just seems like a match that should work well with. I mean, if you look at the structure of a Leon Draisaitl, and I'm throwing Podkolzin out there just because of the way that he plays. Like, he doesn't shy away from those hard areas, right? And his ability to get the puck to good players, I think, is something that you have to look at as well. You'd like to score a little bit more, obviously, but I think that mixture of Leon, Jeff, and Podkolzin, I'd be interested to let that line run for a bit and see what they're capable of.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, like I said, he's a one-trick pony. He's here to score goals. That's what he does best. If you're asking him to play third or in the fourth line, he's not a grinder. And again, Gage, you bring up a good point. He does go to the tough areas, but he's not that two-way guy. He's not. Yeah. He's not going to be out there blocking a shot and grinding it down. He needs to play, and especially on this team that they don't get power play time unless you're the elite five that run the Oilers power play. You need to play this guy in your top six. And listen, I get the Podkolzin love. I do. I like the player. I like his attitude, but he has six points. And he's played most of that with Leon Draisaitl. If that was Jeff Skinner, we'd be torching him right now. We would. We would. So is it because, but everybody's like, well, Podkolzin works hard. Well, yeah, they're in the NHL. I think everybody works hard and he digs out pucks. But you said it a few days ago, he's missed a few sitters, wide open nets. What's the difference? Jeff Skinner is a better offensive player than Vasily Podkolzin. Plain and simple. Easily, right? So that's why I say, just let this guy run with McDavid or Draisaitl. Give him at least, I want to say 8 to 10 games. And then you know exactly what you got. And then if it's not working out, Gager, you can go to him and say, hey, can we move on from you? Because he has to give permission because he has a no movement clause. And he'd probably say, sure, if I'm not going to play with these in the top six, I'm going to be stuck on the fourth line, then yeah, sure, move me. Something like that. But something's got to give with Jeff Skinner. You got to give him the rope because at the start of the season, Gager, when this team was 0-3 and they were struggling to find their grooves, Jeff Skinner was one of their best forwards. Yeah, it definitely was. And that's what was kind of giving me vibes. Oh, this is a guy that, he's doing anything possible to find success, right? He looks like a different type of player. He's got to find that again, though. It's revert back to the simplest form of hockey, up and down the wings, getting pucks on net, going for rebounds. Doesn't have to be a fantastic goal. It just has to get across the line. Lars says, thank you, Hernan. I don't know for what. But yeah, you're welcome, buddy. And Zula says, actually play this guy in the top six and put him in the Nuge spot on the power play. I don't disagree with that. Nuge has been struggling. 7-6 says, Edmonton should trade McDavid for Matthews. I don't know why. Boy. We did, in Hernan's world, we did build our EST afternoon team. We all picked players. Coop went off the handle a bit, but we respect it. Goalies, Aiden Hill, Logan Thompson, and Jordan Bennington. And by the votes on the Nasty Chat, looks like our starting goalie will be Jordan Bennington, boys. And defensively, we went with Makar, Pietrangelo, Dougie Hamilton, or Doug, like Gager likes to call him, Evan Bouchard, Josh Morrissey, Shea Theodore, and Devin Taves. So let us know what you think. Either Friday or Monday, we're going to do our forwards. We're going to have a lot of fun. I can guarantee you McDavid will be on the team. Right, Gager? I could, yes, I do believe he'll be on the team. You do believe. Hey, quickly, today is, you grew up. You're a little bit older than me, but were you a big Family Matters guy, the sitcom? No. No? Who was in that? I don't even know who it was. Steve Urkel? Oh God, no! I couldn't stand that. Voice. That's why I'm bringing. That's why I'm bringing it up because today's Jaleel White's birthday. Who played Steve Urkel? Really? He has to be one of the most annoying sitcom characters of all time, eh? Oh yeah, by far. He was actually he was in Edmonton. He last year for a game. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. So. Do you have are you a big sitcom guy? Do you have another one that's really annoying that you just couldn't watch? I wasn't a huge sitcom guy. I guess. Oh. I mean, if you really date me, I think one of my favorites was Three's Company. That was so good. That was really, really good. Three's Company, and then as I got older, I don't know if those wouldn't be considered sitcoms, but the usual Seinfeld, Friends, and stuff. Did you find Mr. Furley annoying? He was awesome. I loved Mr. Furley. It's great. I'm a big sitcom guy. I would have to say Sheldon Cooper and Big Bang Theory can get pretty annoying.
I have never watched an episode of that. No. But there was a bar in Vancouver called the Regal Beagle that we went to. Yeah, didn't look like it inside, but that would be great if it actually looked like the Regal Beagle.
I know Ross Geller from Friends is one that a lot of people like to pick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a few, but Steve Urkel. But again, you didn't watch it a lot, right? So it's a little bit different. Kimmy Gibbler from Full House. You remember Full House?
Yeah, I remember Full House. Again, not an episode watched.
Screech from Saved by the Bell.
Oh, Screech. I did watch Saved by the Bell, but
yeah, he was kind of no, there's a lot of good ones. There's definitely a lot of good ones, but Steve Urkel today, he's 48. I was looking at a list about the top, and someone had Ari Gold on it. I was like, what? How is he annoying?
From Entourage?
Yeah.
Annoying. Oh, annoying. Jeez. I guess maybe some people didn't like his attitude, but who wouldn't want Ari Gold as their agent? He was phenomenal.
God, he was absolutely great, Gager. Absolutely great. 69 thumbs up. Very low day with the thumbs up, but now we're at 70. Let's get 10 more here in the next minute or so. I want to read this one from Vic. Great show today, guys. Thanks for filling my time. Well, thank you. Thank you. And Waddy says, if Connor and Leon's open praise for Podkolzin, is Connor and Leon's open praise for Podkolzin a message to Skinner? No, I don't think so. I don't think players do it with that in mind. I think it's just, I mean, they say players don't hear what the media says, but they obviously do, because both guys have taken shots at the media regarding Podkolzin. But I think what people are saying about Podkolzin is fair and legit. Like, yeah, he works hard. He does a lot of little things correct, Gager, but you have to produce if you're playing up there. You have to. Plain and simple. If he was on the third line, I wouldn't be complaining about his points. But if you're playing with Draisaitl, sorry, you need more than 6 points.
Yeah, you need to show something, right? On the scoreboard. He's showing a lot of those intangible things, and that's what they're talking about. But
yeah.
He scored a great goal last game.
He did.
It
was great.
That's something. If he can get back to his totals as a rookie, and I think it was 14 goals, you can't ask for more than that, I don't think.
No, you can't. Gager, great stuff for toughing it out on your second day of being sick. Hopefully you're much better tomorrow. Hit that Neocitrin, get some fluids and some sleep and all that. But thank you, my man, for toughing it out for 2 hours. For Joaquin Gage and Zacticum, thank you for tuning in, for the thumbs up, for the downloads, for everything on EST Afternoons. We'll be back tomorrow with another fun show. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. It's a full skid in the NHL today. Enjoy the NHL games, and tomorrow it's a lot of NFL. For Joaquin Gage and Zach Kubish, I'm Hernan Salas. This has been EST Afternoons on Edmonton Sports Talk. Enjoy the rest of your day. Ciao.
Sports Talk delivers a mass audience of key influential customers to your business, all while you associate your company brand with the biggest names, the hottest sports news, and teams from every league around the globe. It's where fans go to get their sports fix, and where our partners find the most loyal consumers. Contact us today and see how our team on Edmonton Sports Talk can score the biggest goals for your business. With various advertising options available, email business@edmontonsportstalk.com or head to our website, edmontonsportstalk.com.